Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today with episode 196 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it's me, Karak with ACG.
I don't think I've seen a more perfect news slate for us. I really don't. We got Borderlands, Metro, CD Projekt Red, Bethesda stuff happening. It all happened this week. It really did, man. So we got a ton to go over. But for those of you out there who love supporting the show, a lot of you are really excited that we are now officially on Spotify. And the way that's possible is through supporting the Patreon. So all you've simply got to do is flick a plug. Bang. And if you do so, you can get extra services like the Spotify coming with the podcast. Also, we do early access over on the Patreon. We have early or exclusive videos. I just did a day in the life video, which was one of the fucking weirdest things I've ever done. Just showing people, hey, here's what I do every day. And I was like, wow, people are going to think I'm really boring after this one. So that was pretty fun to do, though.
I'm still sitting. I'm still sitting here.
Yeah, exactly. Like every video was like a different angle, or every part of the video ended up being a different angle in my room, except for like 2 bits where I was outside. I was like, holy shit. But a lot of people want to know, like, what do I do for an exercise regimen? Like, how do I eat? I was like, all right, I mean, that sounds different. And so, yeah, if you're into that different type of content, you want to get to know me a little bit better outside of just my video game opinions, it's a good place to go. Karak also has his own Patreon. He does great reviews, as most of you know. And if you want to support him there, keep his lights on, keep him posting that informative content, y'all best support him. Anyway.
I got to also give a real quick shout out.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you to anybody who's watching from both Discords, but also just the fact that my Discord has, like, we've started doing all the private servers or, like, you know, stuff for different games, and Division sort of lit it up, where we had a bunch of people join the Patreon and, like, get into Division games. It's so cool to actually see communities, because they're not out there in YouTube where, like, things can be negative. Instead, everybody's like in this nice community where they can discuss things. It's been fucking awesome.
Yeah, true that, man. It's been great to see that. For me, it's kind of been on, like, the Borderlands side of things. Like, a lot of my Discord's been talking about that this week. And they've been, like, really into the in-depth analysis and stuff that we did. A lot of people helped out when I was on stream. I did part of my analysis, or like initial breakdown and note taking that I do before I actually make the video. I did that with a lot of the stream, and a good amount of them were patrons already. So it was really cool to have that type of experience together, because like you said, it gives like a sense of community that you're not really used to. And Twitch is, at least in my experience, it's a really positive place. I've had 2 asshats come in my whole time streaming. Knock on wood.
Yeah,
it's been great.
I think the difference is it's that instant thing, and it's like, you know, it's harder to find it right when it's occurring.
Right.
To be an asshole unless you know and you're seeing somebody's content, so you're usually jumping in to see it live, and then once it goes not live anymore, they can't leave a jackass comment. Like YouTube, I'll have somebody leave a jackass comment a year and a half after a review, and you'll be like, dude,
we were talking about that.
Yeah, we were talking about it on Twitch. It's like, dude, that's not even the same game anymore. What the fuck are you talking about? So it's very positive on Twitch, in those elements at least.
Right on. And also, I do want to say a big thank you to some of Colin's viewers and patrons who have actually come over to our shows. I've noticed that there was a little spike in the Patreon after we had him on, some of them being some of his viewers and really supporting our show. Because he was on a couple weeks ago, for those who didn't know, and it was one of our best episodes. It was just a really great discussion, and obviously we're big fans of Colin and his work, so it was great to have him on, but also his viewership is very kind and welcoming, and I'm happy that some of you decided to take the leap of faith and join what we're doing here. So thank you so much for supporting us over here on the channel, as well as Karak's. And now, with all of that introduction stuff out of the way, that mumbo jumbo that some of you may or may not care about, we get into our first news bit, which is Elder Scrolls Blades. This is one of the weirdest mobile rollouts I've ever seen. So it's out, sort of. Pretty much what happened was there's the 25th anniversary of Elder Scrolls this year, which is a pretty big deal. And to celebrate that, they've rolled Elder Scrolls Blades out for early access to pretty much get the hype going around Elder Scrolls once more.
Right.
Which makes sense. Elsewhere, the Elder Scrolls lore, not my forte. I love it, but definitely not as well versed in that like I am with Fallout. But yeah, pretty much that's not coming till June, so they've kind of wanted something out, I'd imagine, to celebrate this anniversary. So they released Blades into what is more so a closed beta, because what happens is if you signed up before March 25th to get early access, Bethesda has let you in. And they're still going to let you into this early access even if you sign up after. but pretty much I didn't know that. So I downloaded the app, and I was waiting. They were like, and I got a notification that my pre-order had been fulfilled, and I can now play Elder Scrolls Blade. So I fired up. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I've been looking forward to this because I'm not a huge mobile gamer. You know, I played Marvel Strike Force. I dropped that. I played Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and obviously the most I've ever played a mobile game was Fallout Shelter, and I thought it was great because it was just a game. And the most current version of Fallout Shelter is a little more loaded with microtransactions and paywalls, but in its base form, it was great, and I was hoping for that with Elder Scrolls Blades. So I hop in. There's a little cutscene trying to break down, you know, what's happening with the universe, like who the Blades are in Elder Scrolls. I fought one elf. And then the game said, thank you for playing, and we'll let you know when we're going to let you in. It was really, really strange. I've never quite had that before. And it's even more strange because you've got Fallout Shelter, which was like a clear game plan to success. Like, okay, there's Fallout hype. Here's Fallout Shelter. It's available now. You download it, you play it, simple as fuck. And everyone really enjoyed it, for the most part, I'd say. But with Blades, they've done this weird early access rollout where certain people can get in, certain people can't. And apparently, according to some folks, there's some pretty bad microtransactions in there. I don't think anything super egregious or out of the realm of what we're used to seeing in mobile gaming, but apparently, yeah, like there are like, you know, points in the game where you just have to stop playing, and if you want to keep playing, you would have to pay. And I guess my 2 cents is I don't know how much people expect to get out of a free product before Bethesda's like, hey, throw us a bone here. But I'd like to get your thoughts. What are you interested in Blades? Has it ever caught your attention? Have you looked into it whatsoever? Did you try to get into early access?
I didn't try to. It does interest me. I didn't try to get into early access. But I will say that I absolutely, and you and I've talked about this, absolutely believe that people do deserve at some point a developer who has a free game, because I am a free game freak. I'm always playing like free MMOs. I do believe that you should throw them a bone at some point.
Right.
So like that to me makes complete sense that at some point they're like, guys, seriously, you know, now it's time for $1 or something. Yeah, come on.
Right.
It's almost like whenever anybody bitches about end game for an MMO or something, I'm like, at some point, unless you're procedurally generated, you're going to run into the same stuff. And, you know, you can't expect new content at all times.
Right.
At some point, you do have to sort of sit back and let them create. But, no, I'm interested in it because I actually think Fallout Shelter, when it originally released, was sort of like, hey, here's a game. And it just worked. Yep. Like, here's a game. And personally, I don't know what to expect of this. I did hear the microtransactions thing, but I haven't got a chance to actually jump in. And I wasn't impressed because this is the one that was announced for iOS first, right?
It was on like the Apple stage originally.
Yeah. And I don't know if I want to play that kind of game on my phone. Now, that just might be because my phone's not the most amazing phone. I don't upgrade every fucking 6 months. Like, I don't know even if you do, but
no,
I don't upgrade.
I just upgraded
Mine's
my
a year
phone
and a half
for
old.
the first time in a good couple of years, yeah. And it was actually for this game for coverage, of course, which is why it's so frustrating I can't get in. I'm like, let me the fuck in.
Right,
go on,
right.
Sorry.
Yeah, so to me, it's more, I'll sort of wait to see what people say of it, what they think of it, but it's interesting. I want to check it out. It's just I don't necessarily know if it's going to be for me in the long run. We'll just have to see.
So here's a little write-up from GameRevolution.com about the microtransactions in Elder Scrolls Blades for those who are curious. Just because I know a lot of people hinge their interest on that, how intrusive they are. Because I think folks don't mind if they're there, like Apex Legends, for example. But you know, in a mobile game, how much does it get in the way? I might be a little more dull to it just because of Strike Force, because it's literally like every menu they're like, here's a new offer, spend $5, spend $10. Like, it's always in your face. Anyway, we're gonna read this article word for word because it's not a super long one. Elder Scrolls Blades microtransactions have been revealed. The amounts come from the prices listed in the early access version of the game. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of hinting at it could be tweaked eventually.
Yeah.
In the Elder Scrolls mobile game, you can purchase gems with real cash. The collections of gems range in price from around $3 to nearly $160. The early access version of Blades was released earlier this week, and players are immediately allowed to utilize Blades' microtransactions. Free-to-play games often include microtransactions in them as a way to earn money. In Blades, you will earn chests. Early in the game, the chests will open right away. However, as you progress, the opening of chests requires you to wait, or you can bypass it by spending gems. Elder Scrolls Blades has a variety of amounts when it comes to buying gems. The highest amount of gems you can purchase is 14,000. This will give you access to the Imperial Coffer, which costs $160. Along with earning in-game chests, you can buy the chests with gems as well. A legendary chest is worth 2,500 gems, which you can buy for $30.99. Really weird price. The chests include things like items that allow you to upgrade your buildings in game. The items are available through play as well, and that's pretty much it. So, what do you think of that pricing scheme? Pretty much the cheapest you can purchase gems for is $3. The most is $160.
I think it's expensive as fuck. That seems highly expensive to me. I guess I'm just accustomed to the 99-cent rule. You know, where like there's got to be a 99-cent. There's got to be the $1. For me, it's the $1 rule. It's like there's got to be something there to get for $1. $3, I guess, is also cool, though, in a weird way, where it indicates that maybe the content is more when you do that. But that pricing seems insane. And you said 160. Did you mean dollars?
Yeah.
Something's $160 in that game?
Yeah, like 14,000 gems, they said. Yeah, it's insane. I think...
Dude, I don't know what we're coming to, man.
See, well... I think it's awful, and I don't even say this about Bethesda, but I've noticed with any game that includes microtransactions, they always have that one outlier, insane, outlandish, someone's going to do this type of, like, we're just putting there because someone's going to do it type of price. And do I excuse it? No. Do I not think, or do I think it's acceptable? No, but they put it there because someone will be like, yeah, I'm going to play this a lot.
At this point, you expect it, is what you're saying. Like, at this point, you just sort of know it's going to be in one of their games.
Yeah, because I just feel like with companies, we talk a lot about on this show, they see how much they can get away with.
Yeah.
And when no one's really raising hell about the 160, that whole time, someone at some time might be buying that. And I know people go, who realistically would buy that? But, I mean, we've seen some really funky stuff in the terms of numbers this year. We found out Fallout 76 has sold decently. It was one of the top 20 games in North America last year. We found out Anthem's the best-selling game this year, followed by Jump Force, 2 games that reviewed horribly. And so,
No Man's Sky, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, No Man's Sky has a crazy stat tied to it, and now $160 being spent on microtransactions. I just don't find it as outlandish that someone out there would do that. So I know us in this core gaming community will go, well, fuck no. But yeah, man, I wouldn't put it past someone to do it. I really wouldn't. At least there's YouTubers for sure. I actually, when I typed it in, I'm not gonna.
Oh yeah.
I don't know who this. Winsanity posted a video 2 days ago. $100 chest opening. Elder Scrolls Blades exploring the store. 23-minute video. So yeah, there are going to be YouTubers who are going to spend heaps of cash on this game. I don't know if Bethesda was offering, chest or gems.
Right, to those.
Because I do know with Fallout 76, they were like, hey, do you want atoms for the store to just have so you can get cosmetic items when you want? And I was like, sure. It doesn't make a difference to me. I was like, sure, why not? And they never gave them to me, but I think that might be in part because of my review for the game. But still, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they did that for certain creators. But anyway, Elder Scrolls Blades is out now. You can sign up on playblades.com. It's really easy. You just got to link you just got to sign in via your Bethesda account. And when you do that, it'll have you listed and they'll let you know when early access is available. So, hey, why don't I sit here and just see if because it teases you. I'll start up Blades right now, and
see.
It does a loading screen with the early access underneath. It says welcome back, and then right here it says Thank you for downloading Blades. To ensure a smooth experience for everyone, we are limiting access during the launch period. Make sure notifications are turned on so we can let you know when you can play Blades. It's like, fuck, let me in. I check like every day because I want to play. But I'll have to be patient because it's funny because there's a group chat of me, Camel, and Juicehead, and me and Juice are just sitting there like, yeah, we're not in yet. And Camel's got like fucking 15 hours in the game. He's got a starter's guide already out and stuff. I'm like, you son of a bitch.
Wow.
Yeah, he's just going in on the game, which is smart because I think the game's going to do pretty well. Anyway, next topic on the list, easily the headliner for the week of news, at least in the terms of positivity, we've got Borderlands 3 officially revealed. Yeah, I made a 26-minute in-depth analysis. I've made news videos about Borderlands. I've talked a lot about it. It's not like I don't have stuff to say. I certainly do. But Karak, let's hear from you, man. What do you think about this reveal, this trailer, and that hilarious panel? Let's get into it.
I'll just say, like, first, I didn't really realize how popular it was, and I was doing Twitch and I looked and I had like 1,500 people watching, and I was like, "What in the fuck?"
Which is 1,000.
Which is huge when you consider like they could also go to their official stream and stuff like that, which is really cool. I was saying in the last week's podcast that I probably wouldn't be interested in the original games if they were remade, and I certainly have to say that is not true. The remasters that they showed, split screen, 4-player in the first one, adding the mini map, all of that stuff got me to definitely be instantly interested. Yeah. So I went from telling you no, like there's no, to being really excited just for the remasters. Again, I'll probably still have the basic problems with it, but whenever you add quality of life improvements, split screen co-op at your couch.
I agree.
From 2 to 4, that indicates to me something we should reward developers for. And I'm not dissing on Ubisoft, but a normal remaster, you're hitting 2 people. You're hitting the people who are going to buy it again, and then also new people. So they don't care about huge changes. They may just, for $30, get 3 games, let's say, Assassin's Creed games. But I see why a lot of people have issues with those kind of remasters, because they can appear lazy. Nothing in the Borderlands remasters can appear lazy. It's not just up-resed. It's actually 4K assets being created. New textures, which was one of my major complaints with Borderlands 1 and 2, was the textures and the cell shading didn't look detailed enough. Now they're like, well, we're doing that. It's almost like they were listening. I feel like they were listening to me. Like, then obviously they weren't. What I'm saying is everything I was bitching about, they actually were like, yeah, that's fixed. Or at the very least, we've looked at it. We've added something.
They seem prepared in the terms of like what
and
fans
then
want.
three was just so I don't have a problem with the. In fact, it was one of the most fun conferences I've ever had. One of the reasons why no script. I like that. I'm a fan of no script. I don't like dropping a Ferrari down from the ceiling like Forza. Even though I love, Microsoft's events are usually my style of events with my games. What was cool about Gearbox is they're like, shit messed up. This is messing up. VLC became the thing. Like, use VLC. Like, all these jokes about the media player because it was stuttering. But when you finally got to see it even at 2 frames per second when it first played, the level of detail increase was quite dramatic. And I was having a discussion with somebody who shares both of our Discords, which a lot of people do, where I think a lot of people have an...
that, by the way?
Yeah, yes, thank you. I think what happens is people have an unrealistic expectation of how a sequel needs to go graphically, including the fact that the best sequels known to man or currently reviewed include Uncharted, which is the same game each time graphically upgraded. So I saw a lot of people say, oh, it just looks like Borderlands, 2.5 or whatever. Yes, exactly. Because you don't want to alienate your Borderlands 1 and 2 fans. You don't want to fucking put out a card game. Like, people are just going to go, yes, but that they did it separate.
Right.
And so what you see is a game with global illumination, very detailed textures, an improvement to the cell shading system, 60 FPS, 4K, really looking smooth with a ton of enemies on screen and no pop-up. And all of those things, by the way, were in 1 and 2. So people see 3 and they look at cell shading and they think, oh, it's the same. It's absolutely not. And I think people should be actually more impressed by a Gearbox looking and nailing a sequel in the true manner of all the celebrated sequels. Gears of War. I mean, go look at Gears of War. It's not like they magically changed everything. So I personally was really impressed by it. I saw all the weapons. I started like hyperbole, and I was like, what if mechs are droppable? Because the one guy transforms into a robot. I'm like, what if the occasional mech is droppable? Like, holy shit, what if you can ride on the little gun? You're like, what if you level it up and it starts out as a gun, but then like later you can get on it and ram it? Like, you know, just stupid shit. That to me, though, indicates I'm interested. The moment I start making stupid shit up for a game, that means there's an investment there that didn't exist prior. So I would say Borderlands 3's trailer impressed me enough to be interested where there was absolutely zero prior to the event starting.
Nice.
And I went from being like a 0 to like, you know, a 10, at least in interest, because I just wasn't. And now I very much am like, whoa, this is what I'm looking for. You know, no battle royale, which is fine with me.
Announced that
right off the bat. I would just say I'm hoping they do add some things. I would love a differentiation when it comes to fighting bosses and making you think a little bit more. A lot of the bosses in the prior games, which I did just recently play the pre-sequel, a lot of them are just shoot. Yeah, just like aim down the sights and shoot until they die. I would like to see bosses have some kind of intelligent design to where you have to think.
Yeah, because what happened in the
pre-sequel, that game can do it.
Is the first boss actually tried to encourage that, like with the jump pads.
It tried. It's the only one, though.
This huge arena. Exactly, the only one that tried that. It's really strange.
Yeah, and to me, that's the magic. That's the juice. This is a game that's got a lot of humor, too. So, like, can you have an enemy where instead of trying to kill them, what if they're trying to get small and escape through a hole, and you have to shoot them to make them get fat and big, like fill up with energy and then explode? Like, the reverse of things we expect. Of any game out there, Borderlands has the humor to nail that. Also, saxophone fucking solo in the middle of your trailer. Thumbs up. I don't even like the sax. I have no clue what that even meant, but I immediately was like, what if fucking musical weapons drop? You know, like, I was like, I went, like I said, I went from to damn, that looks fun, which to me is what a game is about.
Yeah, it was, well, first, man, I don't know where to start. I'll start off with the panel, the Gearbox panel. I liked it for what it was. It was very awkward. But I said it multiple times in my stream, like even during the magic trick, like some were like, oh, Randy's just absorbing the stage and he's trying to have his moment. And I'm like, I think it's just kind of like they had fun. Yeah, they tried to pad it out a little bit. And I guarantee they were in the room. They're like, okay, they looked at what they were going to announce, what they were going to reveal. We've got one trailer for 3. We've got one for Game of the Year edition. We're going to have the developers talk a little bit. We've got all these publishing titles. Okay, that's about like half an hour. How do we stretch it out? And you know, they were like, let's just do something fun like this and reveal the card game this way. And it got the panel crowd invested, which I think to them mattered the most. Yes, they had millions of people watching worldwide. But there was just something, I feel almost innocent about how they approached it.
Right.
And some people were quick, and you know, we're not quick to defend Randy here, but like people were like very fast to be like, he should not have railed the PAX staff when the tech was failing. I'm like, dude, if anyone, like when I work on a video for a week and shit falls apart, I get upset. If you've been working 5 fucking years on a game and like your unveiling moment to the world is like falling apart before your eyes, you're gonna panic. Like, you're gonna freak out. I mean, the guy came out before he knew any tech issues were gonna happen, and you could tell based off the intro, like they were nervous. There was like a palpable feeling of they gave a fuck. It wasn't like this corporate postured confidence that a lot of E3 stages are consisted of. It felt genuine, like this meant something to them. And that's why, you know, most time, and you'll see plenty of cringe compilations, people laughing at it. But I think, yeah, I was face palming. Yeah, I was freaking out a little bit, but it was kind of a part of the ride. As for the Game of the Year edition, the mini map is the hugest edition of them all, because I was literally getting gameplay footage for this game for a video that posted today as we record this podcast Friday, and I got lost in this location because there wasn't a mini map, in Borderlands 1 isn't as well constructed as a 2, or most dungeons in games nowadays, where you enter one way and it's made where it kind of creates a circle. The first game I ever noticed it with was Skyrim, where everything always leads back to the entrance.
Always led back. Yep.
Yeah, and it always did that. And ever since then, you see that in so many games, always coming full circle. And it's one of the best designs you can do, because it's not that go here and then backtrack the whole way you came from, and enemies are going to respawn, which this game does a little bit. Anyway, I got lost in this labyrinth of a dungeon. And it was one of those times I literally said, I wish there was a mini-map, and sitting there knowing in a couple of days that a mini-map was coming to that game in a free update, because I was playing on PC, really big deal there. As for 3, what I thought about the trailer, I really felt like tonally it had comedy. You know, obviously the sax baddies, we got those, guns with legs. But I felt like when I took a deeper dive into the trailer, and you were looking at Tyrene and Troy, you were looking at Lilith practically like dead on the ground, how certain characters were reacting to certain moments in the trailer, Reese and Zero, along with the Crimson Raiders, all of it to me was like, this seems like a story that's taking itself serious. Very much in the vein of the first Borderlands. It's still gonna have good humor. But I don't think it's going to be tonally similar to Borderlands 2, and people should prepare for that. And I'm glad it's not the same, because here's the thing, is that Borderlands 2 and Handsome Jack were amazing for their own reasons. And instead of Gearbox taking what we'll say, I don't mean to bring them up again in any negative fashion, but like a Ubisoft route with Far Cry, where they're like, here's another Voss. Here's another Voss. We're going to try the Voss theme again, because that's what worked. Gearbox understood Handsome Jack is special for his own reasons. You know, he came and went. Leave him be. Try a new set of antagonists that are going to be remembered for their own reasons. And that, to me, along with a lot of what I saw in the trailer, because when you slow it down, man, my in-depth analysis videos always normally consist of, I'd say, 35 to 42 screenshots per analysis that I break down fully. This one consisted of 70. I've never had that much in my entire life. It was one of the deepest dives, and it's because there were so many like skipping frames, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like, and it just showed you like 5 different things, and each one had like tons of detail and things happening in them. It showed that they wanted to show us a lot, and that they were very aware of how much their audience was waiting for this game. And you know, as a fan, I was very pleased with that, because I like I said, I've never had to go that deep on an analysis before. It's usually just like 1, 2, 3, but there were like 4 different parts in this trailer where they just flipped all around. It was quite reminiscent of Fallout 4 in the sense of they showed a lot up front, and really hit you hard with everything that's going to be in the game, and it left you feeling like overwhelmed once it was done. It was great. I guess the only thing they took away from it was really the panel, because it was laggy the first time, and they were like, guys, can you help us out? And then they finally got it all going smoothly. But that's just my whole take on the entire thing there.
I will say, as somebody who's actually like had to look at writing speeches and writing coverage for especially long form topics,
right?
The filler, people call it. People should really be. I mean, I get it, but when you look at filler, a lot of times what filler is there for is so that you can bookend it with your content. They bookended it with the announcement. They bookended it with little bits of information like Handsome Jack is dead. Little tiny things that they said. And then you have that filler in the center to also announce the board game. It wasn't just filler. There was actually some reasons. Number one, the entire event was about fans. It was about fans. Whether you like it or not, whether you find it filler or not, inviting 2 fans up to look at a board game is more than Microsoft, Sony, Activision, EA, or most others do.
I'm pretty sure it was scripted, because like when they took the cards out of the second box, it was like all signed underneath, like all of them were.
Yeah, it absolutely could have been, but because we've seen that magic trick done, and I know how it's done, it also didn't have to be. So the magic trick itself is not connected to that having to have yes or no been scripted. I will say, if it was scripted, she did the best job of looking mad and uncomfortable. there's a psychological term that happens when somebody gets pulled on stage and there's fight or flight, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And she certainly had fight. You could see like disdain in her face in a couple places, and it's very hard to fake that. But regardless of all that, what you have is a situation where they showed their board game. They did also connect it to the video game itself. They covered that. They tried to draw parallels between everything. And I personally believe that the filler is actually quite useful. One of the reasons why is because ask most people if on a scale of like, or like, let's say they see 20 things, what number 13 through 17 is, and most people can't remember. And so what this does is allows you to show 2 or 3 things, but you've got some stuff in the center that either people can't remember, they remember for maybe the wrong reasons because it's cringy, if that's the wording you want to use. I think it just brought more poignancy to the ending and showing the trailer and trying to get it right multiple times, trying to get everything working. I will also say the PAX thing, I listened to that multiple times and listened to what he said, and I'm going to say, other than frustration, maybe it's just the people I've worked with. I've worked with some amazing people, but the level of frustration he showed was nowhere near what I've seen, and certainly did not indicate some massive attack on PAX staff.
Yeah.
Now, that could just be me, but I've watched a ton of GDCs on the YouTube, and if you guys think that hasn't happened before, and people have been way worse, you're wrong. I think that also comes out just because people dislike Randy, which is legitimate for other reasons. But you don't want to be a jackass, obviously, but you also want your own GDC event to go off as well as you can without a hitch. And they tried to do that, and it didn't necessarily work. But overall, all I saw was a bunch of people trying to show a game. I also love the fact that when it didn't work, Randy did not sit and talk himself. He grabbed his developers to come back out, which, ignoring everything I've already said about certain people, that was pretty cool to say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and spout new things. He tried a little bit, and then he's like, let's get the developers to come back out and tell us their favorite thing. That, to me, worked really well, because it could have been a lot of these speaking, heads. They know what to say. They could sit there and be like, we've got this and that. And instead, it was like, let's bring the community in. The celebration of everybody in Quebec and their ability to say, celebrate it and have all the video with the big groups of developers was very cool, because it got to have them just for a second be on screen, which I also think was awesome. But yeah, it was for a GDC event, that was probably one of the most epic GDC events, because that's not what GDC is usually about. Oh, sorry, PAX.
Yeah,
sorry.
You're good,
it was one of the most epic
save
PAX
you from the
events.
YouTube comments.
I apologize. Yes, I apologize. And I did mean PAX earlier when we were talking about it. Sorry, I just watched Sean Murray's GDC event prior to this.
Yeah, you guys will understand in our last topic why he's been saying GDC.
I didn't even realize it. I'm glad you said something. But yeah, I think that overall it did exactly what they wanted to do, despite some of the glitches, which are just, it happens on the biggest stages. I just think they did something for me, which is pretty rare. And you, as a fan, were interested. Me, as not a fan, became interested. And I consider that actually probably the biggest success of the event for me, was to watch it and go, fuck, I can't believe this, but I'm interested in the game.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest crowning achievements of that whole thing was, despite the tech errors and everything, that when the trailer came out, there was more positive talk about the game rather than just people hyper focusing on awkward, Randy, cringe, magic. I totally, when I was during my stream, I was just thinking in the back of my head that whole time, like, oh my god, this is, social media is going to be a dumpster fire after this. Like, no one's going to care about the game. But I was so happy when I signed on, and people were like, yeah, it wasn't that great in the terms of presentation maybe, but like, the game looks awesome. And that's what I really took away from it, is, like I said, it looked serious, but it looked really fun. Like, when I saw it, I said, you know what, this looks like what made me fall in love with Borderlands 2 and 1. It just looked like tons of loot, looked like fun characters. It seemed like they're trying to carry an interesting story into this one from 2, as well as some of the happenings in the pre-sequel. And I'm really, really excited about that. So fingers crossed that they get it right, because it seems like a lot's hinging on this story. because I think that's what brought 2 into that. Wow, this is a true sequel. It built upon all the gameplay elements, which we clearly saw in the trailer. That's already handled, and now it falls onto the story to be good again, just like 2 was, where it makes you care about the characters around you.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I a lot of times I'll go into something with no expectations and leave with none.
Right.
So it's not like you go in with low and they're held up. I went in with none and I've left multiple events still having none. And this is one of the few where I went in, I was just like, damn, they nailed it. Like they legitimately nailed it for a lot of people who weren't Borderlands fans. I mean, even we did a podcast earlier and there were like 3 people in there who don't like Borderlands, and all of them were like, damn, like that's actually, now I'm actually interested in Borderlands. Like, I'm actually interested in going in and looking at this because that looked that cool to them. So
yeah,
that's off to them.
And after
good job.
all the 2 years or so of leaks, it's actually kind of surreal. It's actually happening. That's the thing is, I don't know how closely you followed it for years, but I've definitely done my coverage for about a year and a half. And before that, I just kind of watch from the sidelines and see leaks and information popping up and just wondering when they're actually going to do it. And you see the tech demo happen. That was kind of like the start of it for me, and I think many others when they came out and showed off all the new stuff they're doing, which is actually something worth watching now that we know what Borderlands 3 is, and we actually can identify that the character they were using there, a lot of people were like, oh my god, that's Tiny Tina. I was one of those people who thought it was Tiny Tina. It was actually Mose the bot jock. But yeah, man, like a lot of people were crazy about that. Just that's when it really told me, holy shit, people are pumped for this game, because everyone was making an analysis video of a tech demo. You don't see that. That was so subject to change in some ways and did not indicate anything about content wise, who we'd be playing as, what's in the game, but people still went crazy with it. And so to see that explosion of happiness and excitement for a game here now.
What I liked is also most of you guys didn't do the 23 things you didn't know but really did notice, but I'm going to make a list video. Yours was like analysis, because I made a joke right after the event. I was like, here we go. You're going to have like the 23 things you didn't know about the Borderlands trailer that you actually noticed, but I just want to make a video because I want a made up reason. Most of the analysis videos were actually looking at it piece by piece, which is what I like to do when I get a chance. Games Radar was within like 12 minutes of it being over.
I only see one. I only see one right now.
Games Radar was the major one that we saw, and it popped up. I mean, I barely got back into Discord before it was already up, which I talked about in your Discord. I think a lot of people had ready.
Yeah. Everything we know so far. Yeah. It's like a top 10 video. Like, they're just attractive videos to make. Everyone knows it. Yeah. Wow. There's a decent amount. Not as many as I expected. I thought this would kind of be like the new Fallout 4 where a lot of people would just bandwagon it. And it seems like there are people bandwagoning it. Not like, I don't say that's an elitist way, but it's like you can, if you're a viewer, you can tell at this point in time. I think YouTube's been around long enough when someone actually knows their shit and gives a fuck. And when someone's like, hey, I've been a Borderlands fan this whole time. It's like, okay.
Right.
Sure. But yeah, it's not as egregious as I thought. All right. Next we've got CD Projekt Red. So I'm going to bring up some comments from them that I think will excite folks, but also shows that a lot is hinging on their future. So let me bring up the news section here. This information is going to come from Push Square. E3 2019 will be the most important ever for Cyberpunk 2077 dev CD Projekt Red. It sounds like E3 2019 is going to be the place you want to be if you want the latest on Cyberpunk 2077. Developer CD Projekt Red has already confirmed that its open-world role-playing title will be at the show this summer, and now the company is doubling down on just how important this event is. During CD Projekt Red's most recent financial briefing, CEO Adam Kaczynski stated, "This year's E3 is going to be the most important one ever for us. We have really prepared a strong show." This is coming off the back of Cyberpunk 2077's impressive re-reveal at E3 2018. So the Polish developer clearly has big plans. Now, this isn't listed in the article from what I quickly see when I scan, but it was confirmed that CD Projekt Red does plan to release 2 AAA games before 2021. So yes, we do have Cyberpunk, which I have predicted for a while is coming this year, and it seems like it's going to have to, because there's no way they release it in mid to late 2020 and then release another game on top of it. It's just too close from one another. They have to get it out this year, and I think they're feeling the pressure because they need this E3 to get nailed, and they need to have the game done by that date. So what do you think about this, knowing, and also a report came in, I'm reading right now, CD Projekt Red profits down 45% in 2018, and that's mostly due to, sadly, Thronebreaker underperforming. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
Wait, they thought Thronebreaker was going to do so well that when it underperformed, they lost 44%.
Well, let's click on the article here.
Can you click on? Yeah, because dude, their numbers guys must be working for Capcom.
I got you. Okay, so today CD Projekt Red announced its 2018 yearly earnings, which, while healthy, don't compare all that well to last year. The good news is CD Projekt Red is far from being there. Okay, so I apologize.
Okay.
Misleading headline, in a sense.
Okay, in a sense. I mean, so I can't speak about other games. It does suck that they're having issues, but I also think that the long tail sales of Witcher, any game that you announce cannibalizes the game prior in some way, even psychologically. Mm-hmm. So I think, you've got your Witcher for various things, and then somebody says, oh, Cyberpunk's coming, and you're like, oh, I don't have the Witcher for the PC, but now that Cyberpunk's coming, I've got it for my Xbox, it's good enough, and I'll just wait for I'll wait for Cyberpunk. I think a little tiny percentage does that. Overall, I don't really know what to think of financials anymore, because a lot of them are based around very specific performing games, as we've seen with Capcom's issue last week that we talked about, or maybe it was the week before, but whatever. We spent like an hour trying to dissect what the fuck Capcom was doing.
Ago. Yep.
God, was it? So overall, I would say it seems to me that there is some issue going on behind the scenes on Good Old Games too, which is there. And the reason why, I don't know if you heard, but they dropped translation of prices. They're dropping that. So that means if you're in Europe, and you buy a game, it should be translated to your cost. Otherwise, you're going to be paying a brutal amount, depending on where the game is released. Australia is the same way. They pay a higher premium. And so some places like Steam offer a cheaper, if you're at this place where it's cheaper, it's evened out. And they said they were dropping it. And I had brought this up earlier that I was really surprised by that drop. Like that, it's such an odd thing because it's a big deal now to add it. Epic just added it. I'm wondering, don't kill me, but dude, do you think it's possible? And this is completely a rumor, not a rumor, not even a rumor, just words. Would you freak? Would you freak if Good Old Games stopped their store and moved everything to Epic Store?
Be a big cash check, a paycheck in their pocket.
The only reason I'm bringing this up is because Good Old Games, the dropping of that and some of the other issues, it just seems really weird right now, because right now it's consumer focused. So you want translation of prices, you want all these things, and they're dropping stuff. And I'm just like, why would they drop it? And then last night I was sitting there going, what if Epic wrote them like a partnership deal or something? And they were like, okay, we'll go, will we have a Good Old Games tab on the Epic Store or something like, because Epic's doing things that are crazy enough for me to bring this up, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if they weren't throwing fucking Scrooge McDuck levels of money around, I would not bring that up.
So,
but
that would in turn probably put Cyberpunk, future Witcher games on
completely
Epic
solidified.
Store.
Yeah, and on Epic Store. Yeah. But that's
but
just me making shit up.
I get that, but then CD Projekt Red has said in the past they were like, we're not going exclusive to Epic. But to be fair, in the scheme of a discussion and keeping it open, I know that I think Obsidian had said that they were just not like, oh, it's exclusive, it's never not going off of Steam, but they were like, yeah, Xbox One, PS4, Steam, and then boom, went right to the Epic Store. So,
well, look what happened today.
What happened today?
Ubisoft took Anno off Steam,
really,
and moved it to Epic Store. Yeah. They announced it will go off Steam the day because they announced it early, they didn't want to remove another game. So it's still for sale on Steam up until the very day it releases. Then it'll be removed from Steam completely for 1 year. So the amount of money, I would say, and Ubisoft has been very open that the Epic Store has turned out to be aces for them. And
Yeah,
so
I mean, with the Ubisoft title, I get that. With Metro,
yeah, so do I.
I don't buy it.
And you're slipping down to like 2 stores versus 3. Steam, we know, takes a larger cut by a great deal. Obviously, you have 100% if you're Uplay and you're Ubisoft, and you have your super low percent, whatever that is for Epic. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what to think. I think sometimes we hear an announcement and we think it must mean something too, and maybe it doesn't. You know, maybe it just means the last game that they sold, their big last title, is no longer continuing to sell at the high.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with The
Resale
Witcher is it
numbers.
came out in 2015, and I made a video.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah, I know, right? It makes you feel old. But it came out, and I remember making a video in 2017 on how it was. I think it was in the Steam, like Steam did like a gold, silver, and bronze thing for game sales overall on their storefront, and like I think The Witcher 3 was in silver or something like that. I don't remember the story exactly, but it indicated that The Witcher 3 was one of the best selling games on Steam, or highest number selling games on Steam that entire year, 2 years after it launched. And it's just, I remember making a video saying, isn't that insane that this game's still that popular? And I think the word's gotten around enough where most people who are interested or curious, you know, the game's been on sale plenty of times. I think a lot of people have already given it a chance or tried it out or played it, whether it's on PC, console, Xbox One. Where, yeah, I think everyone's familiar enough with The Witcher 3, and they're ready for something new. And Thronebreaker fit the niche for people like myself and a very small crowd, but most people are waiting on Cyberpunk. They spent a lot of money on development last year. Yeah. So, yeah, they need that's why they're pressuring this year as their biggest E3, because they need Cyberpunk to like slam dunk, 10 million copies sold kind of slam dunk, you know, like something really, really good that's just out of this world.
I bet you $100 they'll be on Microsoft stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Want to bet 100? No, we both agree?
Oh, yeah,
okay,
we completely agree. There's nowhere else they're going to be. They re-revealed the game on Microsoft stage. I've realized every game I cover, whether it's Bethesda Game Studios, CD Projekt Red, Obsidian,
start out
in bed with Microsoft. It's like, what?
Yep.
What? I'm not even like a huge Xbox guy. You know, it's crazy.
No.
It's crazy. What do you think this other game maybe that they're working on could be?
Well, and they said it was smaller, right? Or they
AAA games.
They put a caveat on there that it wouldn't. But they put a caveat that it wouldn't be at the same scale of Cyberpunk. Yeah, at the end of one of the article, or at the end of one of the quotes, they put a caveat saying that does not indicate that this will be of the same scope as Cyberpunk. Something to that effect.
Right. I gotcha.
Which makes sense too when you look at the developer size that they've got, because they, you know, you don't want to necessarily split. If you can get your game out early, have it polished more, you probably want to put even more people on Cyberpunk. I don't really know enough about them other than Witcher to know what they could be making, right? I mean,
right.
Like, do they get another IP and they're doing something with that? Or is it something small? They tried Thronebreaker. Sure, it didn't work out. Doesn't mean they won't try something else. Like, for example, Cyberpunk.
Stuff, yeah.
What if you did a Cyberpunk Thronebreaker style game where now I would be all over that because I like Cyberpunk more than...
Well, the thing is that Thronebreaker worked, in my opinion, because Gwent was fun in The Witcher 3, and Thronebreaker was supposed to be just something like a single-player version of Gwent, and it turned into its own game entirely. It was just supposed to be an expansion for Gwent, and it turned into its own game because they just were like, fuck it, this is awesome. Yeah, I'm looking actually right now at what CD Projekt Red had said. The studio is only working with 2 IPs, Cyberpunk and The Witcher, and there's no reason to speculate further. CD Projekt Red President Adam Kaczynski said in a Pareto security stream from 2018, "We never said the AAA RPG the new AAA RPG is a new IP. We've said in our strategy that we have 2 franchises, Cyberpunk and The Witcher. That's it for now. So stop speculating about another IP. There's no reason to speculate another IP. We're working on 2 franchises, full stop. So if there's another game, it'll be Cyberpunk or The Witcher, nothing else." So presumably this other AAA title coming is another Witcher game. If they're going to take the BGS route of switching back and forth.
Staggered?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to... I didn't expect it. I guess it wouldn't be that soon if they said 2021 another Witcher game came out. It would
No,
make
I don't think
sense
it'd be
in the
that soon
timeline.
either.
But
Yeah, and I think a lot of people who like cyberpunk worlds don't like. I mean, yes, you and I like both worlds, but many people don't like westerns. For example, they don't like future. They don't like past. So I see that Witcher might overlap somewhat with Cyberpunk, but Cyberpunk's more of the RPG nameless. You get to create your guy the way you want.
Kinda like
Witcher
Mass
tells a
Effect.
story. Yeah, and Witcher tells more of a story about one particular guy. So yeah, it'll be fun to see if it is another Witcher. Didn't they say that Geralt's story was over though?
or
did they not?
I could have sworn.
God, I thought so too, dude. I thought so too. I could be wrong.
Look up The Witcher 4 and just see what comes up. Games Radar, which you didn't give a good rap for, but they wrote a headline: Witcher 4, Geralt's gone for good, and everything else we know so far. Let's see here. Holy smokes, did we get confirmation that The Witcher 4 is going to launch sometime before 2021? Speaking with Donata Poplowska, confirmed that as far as the strategy of the CD Projekt Red Capital Group for 2016 through 2021 is concerned, it plans to release the second AAA game by 2021. Still remains unchanged. And this article came out a week ago. We're focusing on the production and promotion of Cyberpunk. Somebody want to comment on further projects? The first 3 Witchers were by definition a trilogy, so we simply could not make the next game The Witcher 4. This does not mean, of course, that we will leave the world of The Witcher. The Witcher is one of 2 franchises on which we build activities of the company on. Today, unfortunately, I cannot reveal more. Let's see here. I'm trying to see. I mean, we are getting a Witcher Netflix series. Maybe it ties into that. But that's got Geralt in it.
Yeah.
What the devs are saying, well, developer CD Projekt Red has confirmed that there will ever be a Witcher 4, or hasn't confirmed, I'm sorry. There certainly hasn't been anything ruled out. The team was particularly vocal around the launch of Blood and Wine expansion in the first half of 2016. In a Eurogame interview, CD Projekt Red co-founder Martin Iwinski said the team doesn't have anything planned when it came to the next Witcher game. As we said before, never say never, but right now it's really Blood and Wine. This is the end. Blood and Wine is the closing, and there won't be any Witcher anytime soon, if there ever will be one. Very interesting. Very interesting to go back to some of these old interviews and compile it all together. I mean, a lot of headlines are saying, like, no Geralt, but none of them have indicated Geralt is gone, like developer comments. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, moving on to our next bit. Pretty exciting one, in my opinion, based off a little mechanic they're implementing into this. But Wolfenstein Youngblood got a trailer on the same day, unfortunately, as Mask of Mayhem for Borderlands. So a lot of people were talking about the Borderlands teaser, and it didn't completely overshadow it. I did see quite a bit of a discussion going on my timelines. But yeah, Wolfenstein Youngblood is releasing July 26th. It got a full trailer. Some pretty juicy story details packed into that trailer. It also kind of indicates that Bethesda is doing what I always found strange about them, which is promoting games ahead of E3. Where it's like, what are they going to show at their conference? And once again, man, I'm just getting that feeling of 2017. I'm very nervous for them. I don't think they're going to come out and have a strong conference. I'd love to be wrong on that, but when they show more and more info before E3 and they eliminate all options, it's like, unless you have a big acquisition, a new IP, something huge going on, or an unannounced game that's ready to go, that's going to blow our socks off, which is not out of the realm of possibility, but like Rage 2 is coming out right before E3. I'm thinking Doom's just going to get a huge spotlight. That's my guess. Anyway.
You don't think they'll show anything for Starfield at all?
I think Starfield gets a gameplay trailer. I really do. Because I think Starfield's a 2020 game. I think it's going to come out around the time the new consoles launch. And I think that would be really cool to see more about that game at the very least. But that's really my speculation, because I feel like it makes sense in the terms of 76 happened. Bethesda just did a gameplay day thing at PAX East.
Right.
I listened to the panel. both the Elder Scrolls and the Fallout 1, and they did say that Fallout 76 did well. They were like, they didn't drop numbers, but they're like, it did well. So does that mean did well enough? Did it surpass expectations? I'm sure it certainly did based off reviews, but yeah, I think regardless of that, they know they need to win fans back, and I think a good Starfield trailer does just that. I don't think we hear anything about Elder Scrolls 6, but yeah, like what happens here is we're seeing more and more games launching around or getting info before their E3 conference, and that increases expectations, oddly enough, that, oh, well, they must have something else now that we've seen that trailer.
I think it's also good to remember that Fallout 76 was packaged in with Xboxes, which, while not selling as well as a PS4, there's the Fallout 76 package you can get.
Mm-hmm.
So, like how many of those sales...
I remember controllers...
Yeah, so like how many of those sales are that, right?
Somebody sent me an antivirus thing they found in Walmart that had the game attached to it. Like,
yeah,
Bethesda put it to anything, controllers.
Yeah,
everything.
So did it do well, realistically, where people sought that particular program out, or what have you? But I would say also there is a chance they have a bad one, have a bad E3, because they do seem to go odd even, where it's like good E3, bad E3, good E3, bad E3. But I also hope that they're learning, and what this is really about is them announcing it because they feel their E3 strong enough they don't need to announce something.
That's the optimist.
That's the optimist in me too. And it meaning that they have something to show. Like they're like, you do know what games we've got, but you don't know what they look like, or you don't know what they're going to do, so we're going to show you, what they do or what they look like. And I have no real issue with that. I don't think E3 has to always be about the announcement of a game, but it can be a deep dive into it. And especially with leaks, why not announce it when somebody's going to leak it on Amazon on accident anyway? Some Walmart employee is going to accidentally upload the fucking thumbnail, or you know what I mean? Like, at some point, why not get it out there and instead focus your E3s on the actual, the longer view of what it is than just the... Because at some point, it's all announcements, and you get sort of numb to that. You're like, we've even done it where we're like, okay, there were so many games announced, and then 2 weeks later, you're like, we forgot 3 of these games. So it's like, instead, what if after that event, we're sitting here talking about Bethesda showing a deep dive into something, or, on the other hand, I don't know if I want one, because wasn't it Todd Howard who was like, best lighting engine ever in Fallout 76?
16 times the detail was the line from this one.
Todd rays instead of God rays. So there is that, right? There is the worry that we don't want them. We don't want Todd rays, but it's possible. I mean, I honestly don't get as negative as a lot of people do about Bethesda's, because I don't also get as stoked for them. But I think that they're a company that has enough stuff that if they did it correctly, they could get away from trying to compete. Because I don't know if you believe this, but sometimes I feel like the smaller events try to compete with like Microsoft or Sony, and it's weird. So it's like, why are you trying? Be like Devolver Digital, who goes out there with some random person talking, their head explodes. Like, you're like, because people talk about that. People talk about the weird shit. People talk about the in-depth stuff. Show that. So I'm crossing my fingers. I'm gonna be an optimist on this.
Yeah, I think with the 76 debacle, I think a lot of people forget that Bethesda does publish really good games. Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
I know some people don't like Wolfenstein too, so I'm going to remove that from the list for now, but I enjoyed it. But I'm saying, like, Dishonored, Prey, Doom. I mean, they put out... Rage 2 looks fantastic. I can guarantee that'll be a great game. I don't know if the story will be great, but I think it'll be fun as fuck, and that's what people are expecting. It's based off at least what I've tested multiple times. Like, that is a fun-ass game. So I think a lot of people kind of get lost in that. And look, this is coming from someone, like, I don't know if you saw the video, Karak, but this new survival mode for 76, I've never been so fucking pissed at Bethesda, because I thought their execution of it was horrible, and it's like I was just so tired of this. Let's launch this and make it better over time. Like, no, put something out that's good now, because that's what you need. And if you didn't know, like, the spawn points are fucked. Like, you know, there were people spawn camping the fast travel points, so you literally you die upon loading in. I got so much visual evidence of that in my videos and some of my social media, because I was like, this is so fucking ridiculous. So this is not coming from a defensive standpoint for them, as I definitely am, like, most pissed at them over this. 76, I feel like, it was beaten to death by the time I got around to my review.
Right.
But with this, I was like, okay, this is, a mode that can really have them gain some steam. Like, this is the mode that can...
Well, we talked about it during the podcast. We
Mhm.
actually looked at all the icons, and we're actually pretty excited about it.
Yeah. And the thing is that even when you're playing it and you're getting, like, spawn killed and one-shotted and there's lag and, God, it's all fucking annoying, but you still see... it's unlike the base game of Fallout 76, where in this mode, you actually see underneath it all, this could be fun. And that's what's so fucking annoying about it. Because with 76, it was like I went in on the game, but it was also very easy to, because it was just so bland and not a Bethesda Game Studios title. Whereas this one showed what is more frustrating to me is, wow, this is such a great idea, marred by rushing, lack of forethought, like just one spawn point. That just shows that this is a developer that's never made multiplayer games in the past. Having one spawn point, trusting in their community that it won't be exploited, that they won't pick up on it. That type of stuff, I think, is very foolish, and that they should have learned their lesson with leveling exploits with the grenade bouquet and whatnot earlier. But yeah, man, I hope they turn it around. But as for Wolfenstein, a co-op game, they have a pretty consumer-friendly offer tied to it. That was pretty exciting. Buy one,
the duel.
give a code free.
Buy one, yeah, that's awesome.
So
it's like, what's that? A way out?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that to me was awesome. I was actually that was actually very unexpected.
Yeah, I didn't really expect it to be a trend EA started and that other companies caught onto. Another example is only available till the 30th of March, so by the time this episode is live to most of our listeners, you guys will have missed the boat. But pretty much Risk of Rain 2, which was a game that was announced during the Gearbox panel. They had said that if you buy one copy, you will be able to gift a code to a friend for free. And Steam had created a very specific avenue for people to be able to do that, which is awesome between Gearbox and Steam. So yeah, it seems like this is starting to become a trend for these co-op games. I don't know how the financials work out for that, where they go, okay, how much do we need to sell because now we have to account for this extra code being packaged in. And the difference between this one and Gearbox's is that it seems like Wolfenstein's is unlimited, just like A Way Out was unlimited. My friend and I got into that game super late, and we still did he bought it, I paid him back later for the other half, and he gave me a code.
I think what it honestly does is it's pretty smart PR wise, makes them look very positive, and then if people do end up liking it and they're like, I'm assuming if I assume it's like, so there's two ways it could be. It could be like a no way out where your ability to play it is connected directly with the other person, or it could be where you buy a code or you buy the game and you get another code. Do we know which of those two ways this one's being given? Is this one being given as a free copy?
It apparently is.
Well, if it's being given as a full free copy, that's really positive. I mean, there's
are
really...
you saying between just being able to access the story with someone else and you can
yeah, let's say you're connected and I go, okay, I want to play with Maddie, and it's like, connect to Maddie. Okay, you're connected to Maddie who owns it. We're going to allow you to download it, which is sort of what a No Way Out did. And then I can play it as long as I'm connected to you or somebody who owns it. Mm-hmm. Or is it I buy a code and there's a code in the box that I can give to a friend? Because there's sort of two financial changes that would happen. Because if it was a code for a code, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
here's a code, boom. Right, just hand it to somebody. The idea of tying in your account to mine if we chose to play is also very positive. There's nothing negative about that at all. But it seems more realistic to do it that way than to just say we may cannibalize a fourth to a half of our sales by just giving away a copy for free. But I could be wrong. I want to wait until we get closer to sort of figure out exactly the steps. And maybe the steps are out there and I haven't seen them, but I didn't see them exactly define how that was going to be given out.
It strikes me like a Death of the Outsider type game, like a low investment type game to build
like the side, but on its own story.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And why I think Wolfenstein Youngblood will do a little bit better is A, it's a shooter. B, it's co-op. And that's important because C, it has a good gimmick tied to it with that co-op, since you look at another Wolfenstein spin-off, which was The Old Blood, which it was all right, I thought. I really wasn't impressed by it. because its gimmick was just a pipe, and they were like, yeah, you can climb walls with this, and you can stab people with it, and they did everything you could possibly do with the pipe. And I was like, by hour 2, I was over the pipe. I didn't care about it at all.
Right.
It felt like a gimmick and just a gimmick. But this one, co-op gameplay, that's enough to sell a lot of folks who may not have cared about Wolfenstein.
Yep.
And now they do. Yep. Hopefully this indicates for 3 that Wolfenstein 3 will have co-op. I would really like that, because Wolfenstein 3 is, that's going to be, we know for sure it's in development. That's been confirmed by Pete Hines. And if they're adding co-op to this one, maybe they're gauging it out. But I feel like 3 would be a good fit for cooperative play.
For the first truly co-op, like where like you're not just a copy of the same character like Halo, where you're just multiple Master Chiefs, Yeah. That would be pretty cool. It would be cool if they did a Gears of War thing where if you go right and I go left, we have slightly different experiences. We can see each other, almost like Devil May Cry does that with the cohort system. Cohort? No, that's not what it is either.
I've never played the game.
There's a system though that allows you to do that. So yeah, right. I think it's really positive either way. I just think one of those ways is pretty crazy. One of those ways would really surprise me. Doesn't mean they won't do it, but one of those ways to give out a free copy would be highly impressive if they did it.
Well, fingers crossed it's a full game for consumers. That'd be a pretty good thing.
Yeah, that'd be insane.
I think Bethesda's gradually trying to win back some good PR. You can tell because they put all their games on Steam, and all future games are coming to Steam. They've confirmed.
Do you think that maybe then it is a free game for just another code?
I feel like just based off the path they're on, trying to win back fans, I
Sure.
feel it makes the most sense based off the company we knew. But I can't say any obviously for certain. I hope so though. I hope it is the full on game. All right. Next topic is Metro Exodus, which is getting a cool update of its own. So for those of you who've been playing the game a bit and you've liked it and you want to go through a second run, but you don't want to lose all your guns and attachments, fret not, because New Game Plus has been added in a 6 GB patch that allows you to, like I said, play the game, carry over all the weapons and attachments, and collect the rest of the notes maybe you missed, and do the game maybe a different way, whether you're good or evil. I had just finished this game about a week ago now, or 2, maybe. I can't remember, but it was all right. It was all right. I wasn't like the Last Light where, not the Last Light, but Last Light where I gotta play that again. That was a great game. This one was okay. It was solid. I was happy I played it, but it did not blow me away in any way. I thought they did a great job with the ending. I got the bad ending, and I still thought they did a great job. And the only other game that's ever done that for me was actually Persona 4. Where I got the bad ending, and I consider it one of my favorite games of all time, and went back a year later and realized, oh, fuck, I just missed 25 fucking hours left in this game, and it was a whole different story. And I had a deeper appreciation for it after that, too, because I was like, oh, my God, I loved this game when the ending was bad. Now I got the real ending, which is better, and, yeah, it was amazing. So kudos to them on that for doing what I put this in quotes, a bad ending well. I thought it was more obvious in Last Light when they delivered this will send you down a good path, this will send you down a bad path type of decision you can make, or a gameplay element. I didn't kill anyone who was surrendering, but I did during the part where you were fighting like the pirates and the pioneers. I did kill a lot of those people because they would see me and attack me, and I thought, okay, I got to defend myself. And I guess when you kill them, you're instantly evil bad guy, despite doing all the, getting like Steven's guitar, getting the bear, getting the picture, giving it to...
Doing all this shit. They're like, nah, did one thing.
None of it mattered. Yeah, and it kind of reminded me of, I think, the issue that some folks had with Vampire, where I had a good ending for Vampire, and I loved the game because of it. But a lot of people were like, I killed 4 people, and in the scheme of things, I did everything else good, and I got the bad ending. And I was like, oh, now I get that frustration. Because, like I said, I like the ending. But I know what I did in the game did not reflect the type of character I was playing as at all. Like, I was stealthing. I was choking people out. I was punching anyone I could. I was very rarely shooting my guns. And I spent a lot of time customizing and cleaning. But despite all that, I'm happy to see it. There's a new Game Plus mode getting added. Have you had any pull to go back to a game for... or not a game, but this game for a second time?
No, I admittedly I haven't for any of the Metros.
Really, not at all. Okay.
No, No, not really.
Hmm.
I think like when I go back to a shooter, it's for craziness, not necessarily a game like that. Once I've experienced it, I'm like, okay, I've experienced that. I feel the same way with this overall. It didn't have the freedom of, let's say, a Fallout, so there wasn't the desire to go back and really fuck around with things and, explore in different places I
Right.
missed. Overall, I thought it was just a solid package with some things I really liked and some things I didn't like. It wasn't the best game in the world, but there was a lot of elements I liked about it. It was, I would say, for a Metro game, it was a solid entry to their series in a different style.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I said it wasn't bad. It just really didn't. I felt what happened, and call me crazy. And I know some people are going to roll their eyes severely when I say this, but a lot of the open hub design was quite reminiscent to me of sort of like a Far Cry. There were just your main mission, which you'd follow the exclamation point to, and dotted around were bandit camps. And that was pretty much it. And I was expecting more akin to a Dishonored, where maybe you'd go into one camp and it was a nice group of people and there would be a side quest there that you could pick up. But it seemed very formulaic. It was like bandit camp, maybe a collectible that you need to pick up to give to someone on the train. And it really hinged on you caring about the characters because, like, you'd hand the little girl the bear and you'd watch her kind of get all happy about it and show people around the Aurora. And those moments were solid. But like for me, it gave me no reason to care about any character in that game except Anna and Miller, who have been around for a while. Not that the others haven't, but the others have not been prominent or major in any way, shape, or form compared to those two throughout the series, where they were the only two worth caring about. Fortunately, the game, I think, was aware of that because it focused on them the most as the game really ramped up towards the end. And like I said, I think it was why the ending was still strong, whichever way you went. But yeah,
I also think the game was about like the people on the train being the only safe ones, because we talked about this in the last podcast. There's a certain event where you think you might be safe and you're not.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that hurts the open worldness of it, because there can't be quests really if the open world is that dangerous. And other than the couple characters you do find in the open world, there isn't any. Yeah, there really isn't any other quests. It's more about, something's wrong with the train, go fix it. You need to get past this spot, go out there and do it. So that's why I don't really feel a draw to go back.
Yeah,
if there were side quests, I might, but I'm not even sure if I would, even if there were side quests. Not that it was bad. It's just like at the time I enjoyed it, and then I moved on. I don't really return super often anyway, unless KOTOR.
Yeah,
right,
same.
or Jade Empire,
Yeah.
or for whatever reason, I just
it takes
don't
a lot
return.
for a game to make you want to return. Like the only game I've returned to in recent memory is Nier Automata, which I'm playing through right now. But
yeah, I mean something like that, I can definitely see returning to, especially with the upgrade system.
Yeah,
that alone
like
would be
Metro,
worth.
Exodus, just it's the type of game you would want in theory to replay, because you'd play on different weapons with using different choices, seeing how different characters reacted to certain things.
Man, I felt like I did not feel that. I don't know. As in,
I didn't feel it
I'm
as
like you. I
strongly.
didn't.
I felt that other games did it better in that series, I should say. I thought Last Light nailed it. I thought they hit a sense of like weight to your actions in a way that you didn't really expect. Like, I think going into it, you're like, oh, this is a shooter. Some choices matter, good or bad. We'll see though. And it just the reactions, and I think they made the Metro really diverse, and I think that was a really big strength of it. Whereas this one, you expected diversity. No, you're good. I'll just keep going. You kind of expected diversity throughout the locales in this game, like the Caspian Sea. I forgot the name of the location where the pirates and pioneers were. Pioneers were. But it was kind of like this spring-like setting. It was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, that is a fantastic looking game. But I guess it didn't have that shock and awe like we had seen in prior Metro titles. So I think it lacked a little bit of that punch. Like when you stumble upon that Nazi sort of regime underneath in the Metro, in Last Light, and you're like, oh shit, like these are people who exist in the Metro. Like it was kind of crazy seeing all these different pockets of life throughout this one train system practically. It was very bewildering as you explored the metro, whereas you expect, I guess there was this lack of, or rather this preset expectation there put into Exodus that I think kind of betrayed the concept. And once again, I think the game was pretty self-aware of that, because there's a reason why, and this really isn't a huge spoiler, but why they conclude the majority of the game in the fucking metro, because they know what made their series strong and special. And I think that was those focused, funneled parts, not just underground, but in general, were easily the best parts of the game. Like I said, minus the Caspian Sea, I found that to be quite weak.
Yeah, I don't really know. Good game overall, liked it, but yeah, I just don't have I don't have a desire to return to any of those. Yeah. For whatever reason. Just same. They're a different type of shooter. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, they're fun that one time, but then I think also because a lot of the Metro series have always revolved around jump scares, I enjoyed the original Metros a little less than most, because I don't react to jump scares ever. So, like, a monster will come out, and I'm the one who can't stream those games because I'm not going to yell. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, okay. Yeah. But, like, Exodus worked a little better for me because it wasn't as much about jump scares. But I think overall, those are just not the style of game for me to return.
In that game,
I didn't get any. I don't even remember, other than the starting.
Sack of fucking steel.
when the starting, when you are getting on the train and getting everything figured out. From that point on, and I told you, I really didn't emotionally register whatsoever with the "you're safe but not safe" moment in Metro. And I liked Metro probably more than you a little bit. Exodus, I'm talking about, probably more than you a little bit. And I was just like going through that, and shit was happening. I was just like, whatever. I will say I probably bought in more than you did to the NPCs. For whatever reason, I dug the sitting and listening to the guy talk while we smoked, and seeing little impacts in the world. Those sell me pretty well, pretty easily.
Yeah, but see, I don't need too much. I even did things to really bring the immersion in. Like, I killed all HUD. I went into hardcore, so I was like crawling around levels, really taking my time with the game. Like, I gave it all.
Maybe that's what caused you to have the issue. Is maybe that's not the way. I mean, maybe overall, for some reason, that isn't actually the best way to play that game.
I think it is, though. I've always enjoyed like a nice paced Metro game, because so many shooters are like just.
But not what I'm saying is not Exodus.
Right.
Maybe when you jump into Exodus, you're like, maybe that's not the right way to play Exodus. I'm not saying it's not the right way to play the other ones, but maybe because of the lack of care of NPCs out there, the lack of them even being out there, really. Maybe in this Metro, we'll find out as you go on that really that kind of extra time taken doesn't reward you. So maybe you felt unrewarded because you were doing those things, where I didn't feel unrewarded because I did them to test them for the review, but I didn't do them to just religiously do them. I was like, okay, that works, but I'm going to play the way I'm going to play and just sort of see the way it is. I don't know. It would be an interesting game to go back in a year and then like break down, like, does hardcore mode, for example, work in that game? Because there are some games where there's a hardcore mode, and you'll talk to the developer, and they're like, dude, we didn't balance for that. We had, for example, God of War. They made it very clear the game was not technically prepared for the hardest mode.
Yeah.
The FOV wasn't even right, but they knew people would want one. So yeah, that'd be an interesting. We should, like, in a year, go back, if there was like no games to review, go back, break it down, and see. Multiple games would be fun to do that, but I think this one in particular, just because it is divergent from Last Light and from the other. But remembering that I'm a big Stalker fan, the original, like before those, so there might be a little bit of that for me too.
Yeah, I mean, the gameplay never really set me off. The only time I got pissed was during the part where and this is just me in general, I don't really blame the game. I just think it's the dumbest choice for a designer to say, let's remove every weapon you've ever earned in the game for a good amount of time. Deus Ex, Human Revolution, Far Cry does it. Metro did it. They took away everything you fucking built and gave you a crossbow and set you out. And
go back out.
Yeah, and especially in a game where you can, on a higher difficulty, die in like 2 shots. really frustrating just firing with this clunky, slow-ass crossbow and reloading the same part. That was the only time it was really annoying, but it also, like I said, it was emphasized a bit more because I can't stand when developers take away all your stuff. I think it is so silly reversing progress, because especially in Metro, in that case where it is very much a game that says, hey, you are going to have this backpack on you. You have to hoard your resources. You have to craft everything. You have to kit out your weapon.
And then they're like, no, you don't.
Exactly. We're lying. And they take it away. They're like, psych, fuck you, bro. Like, that's like, nah, bro. Come on, you can't do that. It's just...
I hate that minigame. Also, like with Far Cry 5, where you got kidnapped 8,000 times. Yeah. And I was just like, Jesus Christ, stop with the kidnapping. Because that game would even cheat. Once they came to look for you, they would just keep spawning until you finally got shot, so they could kidnap you to give you in a flashback. You were like,
all right, fine, you can kidnap me now.
Dude, Matty, I'd just be like, fuck it. And I was so frustrated by it, I would just stand there. And they would hit me. I'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever. Just taser me or whatever you're going to fucking do. Knock me out. Let me get to that. Just take me away. Because, I think that those are, whenever you remove the build-up, or the built-up stuff from a player, you either have to do it really short, man, like a flashback. Flashbacks would be fine. Hey, here's a flashback prior to you getting all this. Here's, maybe what if that would be cool if Metro had said, hey, here's a flashback from prior to Exodus, and it was more of the inside, the corridor stuff. And you're like, whoa, what the fuck? For a little bit. But yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a game actually do that. Most of the time it is what we're talking about, where for whatever reasons they think that adds to the game.
Without spoiling anything, at the end of Exodus, there was some just real bizarre fucking creatures showing up where I was like, what is this thing and why is it a significant
I think they're all bizarre anyway.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like icing on the cake for sure. But anyway, New Game Plus mode coming to Metro Exodus. Not a game you should really like hard pass on by any means. It's a great game, and I think it didn't hit a right feel for me. But next is the topic I think you were most excited about, which is, let's talk about No Man's Sky.
I'm excited in a weird way.
Right.
Well, first of all, VR is coming for free, which, as somebody who has told you 1,001 times, if you play Fallout 4 and then you play Fallout 4 VR, it can't be any more different. Mm-hmm. It's stunning how different it is. So that'll be cool, even though it doesn't like necessarily change the core dynamics in the game. VR is when you're playing a pancake version of a game and then you play the VR version, it's pretty impressive. That ability to look behind you and you see the game world and your brain starts to go, fuck, I'm actually in here. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited for that. But I saw the GDC, I saw Sean Murray's GDC talk, and I was just impressed by self-awareness. I thought it was pretty cool because, whoa, sorry, that was my Alexa. Let me turn it down. So I was impressed because I did not realize this. He told a story. So all of this shit was happening. He obviously was untruthful in some stuff. So was Sony. There was obviously some untruths going on. But he said something really cool. He said that a Valve developer from Steam, one of the Valve developers was a fan. And at the time, Sean was after the release and he was writing out. So somebody would bitch, he'd write out a response. Somebody would ask him for an interview and bitch, and he would like try to do the interview. And this guy from Valve was like, listen, only talk to your gamers via your patch notes, as in just work on it, don't talk. Because talking, it doesn't matter if you're respectful, it doesn't matter what, you will always lose in the long run if you're in the position they were in. And they were in a position of their own building. He never said otherwise. It was just cool to see him say, he took that and he's like, you know what? We did make mistakes, and I'm a firm believer that there has to be a path for redemption for people and companies, developers, and there's somebody who's stepped up their game, who's added a bunch of stuff for free. Whether I know a lot of people say the only reason they're doing it for free is blah blah blah. Okay, whatever. But this is the situation we're in right now, and it was just a really interesting GDC discussion, and one that shed a light on how he basically tore the press to shreds. He was like, we figured out quite quickly that the press has no real connection whatsoever to the gamer, which we know, you and I know, because I think YouTubers, there's a reason why they're called influencers, whether we hate that word or not, which I fucking despise. But it was cool because he said that, you know, people were telling him, they were like, listen, if you go onto an article and you do some kind of interview for a web page, 2 minutes later it's going to be replaced by negative news because that's what generates the clicks. So instead, speak to the gamers via your patch notes, via the work you do, let that speak for itself, and then come back later once, you know, there's that sort of, I guess, remembrance of them fixing things. Even though you and I both are firm fans of getting it good day one, I would also argue with a lot of people that No Man's Sky wasn't enjoyable day one. It's just our expectations were ratcheted to an unrealistic amount because we were told that it was going to do unrealistic things. But yeah, it was cool, man. It was cool because he was very open about it. You could tell he was really nervous. Obviously, it was emotional because there was a lot of pain. He was taught, you know, which, you know, that's what happens when you're not truthful. But it was also very interesting to have him open up about YouTube, about websites, about having to come back and not wanting to leave the industry, because a lot of people, I'm sure, wanted him to leave the industry. In fact, there was a thread I just saw on a forum that was like, Randy Pitchford needs to leave the industry. And there's always this leave kind of thought process. And you're like, we should think this through, maybe not in some cases, obviously, but in some of these where like a developer does this kind of stuff, would you rather have them leave or learn from their mistakes? Because God, I'm telling you, Matty, if people found out the stupid shit I did when I was young, I'd be fucked, man. I mean, I did some dumbass shit, but I had a path of redemption with friends, with spouses, with girlfriends, with whatever family. When you do something dumb,
right?
And I think it was cool that people were like open to it, and it's now become a little bit known as No Man's Sky and what it is now, and the improvements, a little bit like a Ubisoft game, like you could say Rainbow Six Siege.
I think it goes hand in hand a bit with some of the humanization of the internet, where people are starting to realize that, hey, someone may have been an ass clown 2 years ago, 4 years ago, or especially in the case of a video game, like, okay, some false information may have came out, that, yes, it's okay to be annoyed, it's okay to get angry, I feel, but that there does come a time where you move the needle over and you go, okay, it is now unhealthy to remain incredibly pissed the fuck off for another 5 more years. At
Sean walking canker sore, just mad,
just absolutely ripping into Sean Murray still. You know, you can crack your little jokes and have your wisecracks, but I feel like, you know, and you know it, I know it, as creators, like we've both made our mistakes on our own channels before, where people will use it as a sticking point for the rest of time. And there's a time where you know, at first it's a little sore. It hurts, it bothers you, and then you get over it, and you hit that point where you see it, you don't get upset, you don't get mad, you honestly don't even feel anything. You just go like, when are you gonna get over it? You know, like when is it?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I know for us, like, we're the creator, we feel more apt if we make a mistake to get over it and try to put it behind us, because we're like, okay, like, I don't want that happening again, let's move the fuck on. But, you know, there comes a point where, like, I'll still see people try to use like near perfect as like not like a joke, but like a legit sticking point to me. Like, I'm still sitting there like dying on that sword and defending my original Fallout 4 review. I'm just like, bro, you know, like if you don't like that review, fine. And there's plenty of content I'm gonna put out that you're not gonna like. But you know, to act like that's something that you're really gonna try to hurt someone with, and it's the same thing with Sean Murray, where people are, you know, no man's lie. And, you know, sweet little lies with Sean Murray and Todd Howard. It's like, okay, that was what, 2016? It's not 2019. We've seen the game turn it around in terms of adding tons of content, fulfilling promises, continuing good communication. You know, let it be now. Forgiveness is healthy. Forgiveness is okay. You know, there's nothing wrong with forgiving a person.
Yeah, and especially in the the ideas of an interactive creation, where, let's say, I can't tell you that on page 256 these certain words were used because it's a video game. I don't know what your experiences will be, what somebody else's will be. So there's an interactivity there that can slightly adjust how you feel about a game. As you can tell just by reviews, where somebody's like, I had this happen, and somebody else is like, what? That never happened to me. So I think with this kind of thing, Rainbow Six, we do see titles that, and again, No Man's Sky, I want to make it clear, when it came out, if you looked at it, which most of my friends had no clue about what it was gonna be, they saw a picture of a Flash Gordon looking sci-fi game, and they were like, wow, and they got it and were quite happy. They were quite happy, in fact. To them, the game that made them quite happy is just now improved massively. To those people who were mad, like you said, at some point you do have to go 3 years, really? Like, burn me once, shame on me. And I think a lot of it does come from pride. Don't be stupid. Like, don't let them burn you again. That's absolutely correct, but there's a difference between not letting somebody burn you and just not being involved in the situation at all and just walking away from it and saying, like, I'm going to hate them actively. I'm going to do this actively. Another reason why I think that's a good thought process is because it also, you saw developers in the room, like, nodding along with Sean Murray going, like, I get it. Like, and I'm sure a lot of them in that room still probably have an issue with him because he made their job harder. Let's be honest. A developer, like you, like, if you did something as a YouTuber, like, let's say one of us got paid for a review and it got out, paid exorbitant amounts. Tencent gave us millions of dollars to review a game. If you did or I did, all YouTubers are harmed a little bit by it. So you're going to hold that, you're like, fuck, man, you caused my situation. I'm sure a lot of the developers in the room, there were some in there who were like, but it was cool to hear him talk and see people sort of realized, especially for somebody who, he didn't sit there and apologize. He's already apologized multiple times. He didn't sit there and say, poor me. He was just like, we realized that we were talking. We had already pissed off the people we were going to piss off. So we had to find the people that sort of liked it and what did they dislike and then fix those. And he said the first thing that popped up was one of my major complaints about the game, inventory. He said, we can't fix somebody who's mad about me saying there were sandworms because at that, maybe they didn't get put in the game because that's how development works. But he's like, inventory, I can fix that. And I like that because it's like, okay, great, we're at this point. What do we do? Do we just dump it? Because if we do, Maddie, if everybody dumps something when things turn bad, then all games are fucked. Because the number of titles out there that people just be dumping because they didn't sell well, which I bitched about, like sell a Game Pass and then it doesn't sell well and your Game Pass is worthless. So I actually think it's very cool to see somebody step forward and be like, these are the things we learned from our mistakes. In no way, shape, or form saying they weren't making mistakes. It was just very self-aware. It was like, it was really dumb, but here's what we've learned, and here's how we've learned to move forward. And my hope is that a lot of developers look at it, watch it, and first of all, are forewarned. Okay, we don't want to do what he did to get to that point, but also use whatever he said to fix games that are already good. Games that are already, a Metro Exodus. It did well, so, but we're adding a plus to it, and we're talking to fans. Oh, Maddie doesn't like the story beats because there isn't there aren't some side quests or something. Like, can we do something about that, or is he going to be an outlier for us? I think that's awesome, and I think that that's the way it should be, and it should continue that way. And for whatever, luckily, I think we are starting to see that. I think we still have a long way to go, but it's certainly not saying we can't drop our jokes. I just dropped Todd Ray's. But at the same time, I'm going to tell you right now, if Todd Ray's can come up, Maddie, but if fucking Starfield's awesome, I'll be the first one crowing about Starfield at the top of a fucking building somewhere.
I think a lot of the anger for gamers, and it's hard to get that perspective at times, like in a situation of Fallout 76, it's very hard, I'm sure, for the developers to think this, but like most of it boils down to, I want to love this so bad, what the fuck did you do to me, kind of thing, not like, you suck, I hate you. It's more so like the anger for most gamers boils down to, wow, I want to love something and I cannot be, and now I feel burned because of it. And I it might come down to financial situation then, like, I only buy one game a year, I only buy two games a year, and your game that I banked on fucking blew, so I get that too, because it can get personal real fast. But I think what happens is gamers will be the first to tear you down if you fuck up, which a lot of the times it is deserved, but then they'll also be the first, and in multitudes more, the people who will raise your game up on a pedestal, or your creation up on a pedestal, and celebrate you and what you've done, and encourage everyone to try it. It is a vicious circle, but I think it could be a rewarding one if your intentions are pure and if you are honest. I think if
you have the ability to, I think, filter a lot of shit.
Yeah, because I think a lot of creators put this pressure on themselves to do something spectacular because they look around them and see all these spectacular creations, and maybe because of insecurity or whatnot, they feel like what they're making isn't living up to that. And if they're just honest, a lot of people are very understanding because they know what they're buying into, they know what they're getting into, and they don't feel gypped if you just tell them straight up what's going on with the product they're getting. It's just that simple. It really is.
PR needs to stop making these huge snafus, though. I mean, I will say that, like, whether it be, Todd Howard, whether it be Sean Murray, whether it be Ubisoft's PR, Activision's, I will say this. If I was a PR person and I was working for a company right now, I would be seriously watching to make sure that I didn't say anything that wasn't in the game. And I was very clear if it wasn't. I mean, I think we are at a point now where you really do have to be, you have to say it's mysterious. Almost like the CD Projekt Red guy is. He's like, we're doing 2 IPs, so quit fucking... what do you call it? Quit. What did he say? Quit speculating. Yeah, just shut the fuck up. I sort of dig that because it's just like, no, this is what we're doing. Quit speculating because you'll get these expectations, and then somebody may also pretend like they're real, which can definitely happen. Right. But yeah, it was just a very fun discussion, and I'm really happy to see those kind of games do better because I'm a fan of those kind of games. Right. Those are easily my favorite kind, the No Man's Sky kind of games. I love those kind of games.
Good stuff. Well, here's to many more successful No Man's Sky-like games, and that is our last topic for the show, episode 186, as we crawl to that big 200. Let us know in the comments if you guys have any cool ideas, or tweet at us for episode 200 celebration. I know some people suggested like Lone and Noah come back. Noah's on the table, but Lone can't because of his job, of course. So just keep that in mind. We want to make sure, speaking of, gauging expectations, we want to make sure everyone knows we're trying to do special stuff for episode 200, but it's really hard, I feel, to execute like a real special podcast. And we just had one of our biggest guests come on, and that's usually conducive to scheduling. So it can be tough, but we just want to keep it open and hear your guys' ideas as we get closer to that. But anyways, thank you all so much for listening, and we will catch you next week with episode 197. Peace out.
Peace out.